Hello, this is Salam. I reviewed this YESWELDER MiG 205 DS around 2 years ago and it did great. It still works till this day. YESWELDER reached out to me last week and they want me to try their newer version, the MiG 205 DS Pro, and I received the box today. We will unbox it and we'll try it out. I hope you enjoy this video. They send a label to use as a quick chart for some settings. They include the manual and some rollers for the MIG welder. A small adapter to convert it from 220 outlet to 110 outlet. This welder is multi-voltage. It will work on 120 volt AC and 220 or 240 volt AC. They send a hose for the gas. I really like their torch. It's flexible and I have no problem with this one. It's still good. I actually bought a second one. I'm using one for a flux core and one when I use it as MIG welder to prevent any contamination. So I have a spare one. And this welder used the European style connection for the torch. They sent a plastic or Teflon liner if you want to use it as MIG welder for aluminum. You can't use the steel or metal liner inside because the aluminum wire will get stuck through it. So you could use that. I highly recommend, if you want to weld aluminum with this one, to buy the YESWELDER spool gun. I have one. I reviewed it also around 2 years ago. And I'm going to try it out with this welder. And it actually does great welding aluminum. This is an 1/8 inch aluminum, and as you see, it does great. They sent extra tips and a wrench. And they also send a work clamp. And that's everything. I will measure all these. And I will let you know the length of everything. I'll bring the camera and I show you close up what the difference is between this one and the older version. The older version had this window to do all the adjustment. Like I said, I have two torches for this machine. I'm using one for MIG welder and another one I label it with white tape. I use it for flux core to prevent any contamination. It's 9 feet, 10 inches, almost 10 feet. This tail will add 13 inches to the core of this machine. 68 inches, 5 feet, 8 inches, or 5 feet, 8 inches. And it's set from the factory for 220. This one 10 feet. The work clamp is 10 feet. It's 8 feet 7 inches for the hose. The feeder is made of metal. It's real good, well made. The other welder, I have no problem with it. To change rollers, it's very easy. You remove this and then you pull the roller and it comes with 4 rollers. This one over here, the one labeled with U, 0.9 millimeter U and 1.2 U, it's for aluminum. If you change the liner in the torch, so you use this roller. And the size of the wire you use, like if you use 0.9 millimeter wire, you make sure that face the inside. So it will feed that size of wire. It has a slot over here and a keyway on this shaft. You line it up and then you tie it with this screw. I'm not going to use aluminum wire. I'm going to use this YESWELDER MIG solid wire, 0.8 millimeter. I'm going to use this one. However, they send a V-groove roller and they also send one that has the serration for a flux core. 0.9 millimeter and 0.8 millimeter. Like I said, the 0.8 millimeter toward the inside. For those who don't know, this European style connector, I have the wire sticking out. And then I will install the torch. This will deliver the trigger with these 2 pins, the gas through this one, and the current and the wire through this terminal. Make sure you line everything. The tip that came with it, it's 0.8 millimeter. That's what we need. You need to make sure you use the right tip for the wire. I remove it until I feed the wire all the way out of this. I'm going to plug the welder first to 220. If you don't like to waste the wire, if you want to change flux core or whatever, just release this and spool it back like this. Let me give you a quick rundown of the feature of this control panel. If you are on MIG mode, this button over here will change the diameter of the wire you are using. If you are using a 23 thousandths of inch, then you need to select the 23,000 or 0.6 millimeter. If you are using 30,000, then you select this one or 0.8, 35,000 or 0.9. And this over here, good indication for the type of roller you need to use. You need to make sure if you are using 30,000 to use the 0.8 millimeter groove or roller that contain that groove. This button will switch between 2T to 4T. This is a mode for the MIG torch. If you press it once to weld and you keep holding it, then it's 2T. If you press it to initiate the weld and the machine continue to weld, you have to hit it again to stop, that's 4T. You need to leave it on 2T for most type of weld you are using. This will switch the welding mode. Right now it's set to manual MIG, synergic MIG, lift TIG, stick, and as you saw, it disables some of the feature of this control panel when you are on these two modes. Manual MIG, we're back to see the wire diameter and the shielding gas. This button over here to enable or disable the spool gun. If you have a problem feeding through the MIG torch, make sure you didn't hit this accidentally, or if your spool gun doesn't work, make sure to enable it through this button. Right now it's enabled and now it's disabled. When the spool gun disabled, then you feed it through the MIG torch. If the spool gun enabled, then the motor of the spool gun will get fed from this machine to run it. So make sure you select this correctly. On my other machine, the MIG 205 DS-B, there is a switch inside the machine to switch between the spool gun and the MIG torch. These two knobs, the optical encoder to adjust various settings. When it's on manual MIG, this will adjust the feed rate and this will adjust the voltage. If you are on a stick, for example, this will adjust the current. So this or these two knobs will change based on the welding mode. This button is for the shielding gas. CO2 100%, mixed gas, aluminum or argon 100%, and a flux core. This button over here, it's the inching. If you put a new spool and you want to feed the wire very quick through the torch or the cable, then you press this button and keep holding it, and the wire speed rate will increase. It will come out very fast. And then when you let go, it goes back to the setting you have it. This over here is show this machine, it's connected to what type of voltage. Right now it's connected to 220, so it will show 220 right here. And that's everything about this control panel. If you need more information, please read the manual of this machine. I have the machine connected to the C25 cylinder, and I have the regulator set to 20 CFH. I also loaded the machine with solid wire for MIG weld, and I connected the torch to the plus side, and this will set it to DC positive, and I have the work connected to the negative. I'm going to try to weld this 14 gauge sheet metal. I'm going to talk very quick about the setting. Please read the manual for more detail. This panel will show the voltage that this machine connected to. Right now it shows 220 volt, and it is connected to 220 volt outlet. The wire diameter, the first button up here, is show 0.030 or 0.8 millimeter, and that's the wire size I'm using. The step mode button, you could select 2T or 4T. I have it set to 2T. The weld mode, I have it set to manual MIG. And the gas, this button over here for the gas, I have it set on the second one, FE-SS or mixed gas, and this is mixed gas because it's 75% argon, 25% CO2. I have the wire speed rate set to 265 and the voltage set to 20. I tried to weld following the chart that came with the welder. It showed to set for this thickness of metal. It's set it to 265 feed rate and 17 volt. When I tried it, the current was low, so I had to increase the voltage. So I set it to 20, and I'm going to try to weld these two 14 gauge sheet metal. Always when you weld, make sure you use a good and reliable welding mask to protect your eyes. This is really a beautiful weld. Everything is YESWELDER. I have a YESWELDER machine, a YESWELDER wire, a YESWELDER mask. The metal, it's local metal, so it's not made by YESWELDER, but really, that's a good weld right there. I'm going to try to weld on this side. Usually with MIG weld, you get better result if you weld over here because you are trapping the shielding gas. Let's try to weld it over here. Really, this is comparable to TIG weld. The heat profile is good. Infuse the metal real well. So next, I'm going to unload the MIG wire and use a flux core wire. Then we'll try the stick weld. I loaded 0.8 millimeter flux core wire or 30 thousandths of inch diameter. I also changed the roller and I'm using the serrated roller. You have to use this roller for the flux core. I disconnected the shielding gas because you don't need shielding gas with the flux core wire that I'm using. I also replaced the torch. This is the original one that came with the machine, and I'm using my dedicated torch for flux core to prevent contamination. Or you know what, let us try the synergic mode for MIG. 85 the feed rate and 16.3 for the voltage. And you adjust it with this knob over here. It's a little bit low. You could adjust the voltage independently, but the feed rate will adjust the voltage too. It really did well. I have the voltage set to 18.7 and the feed rate to 120. I'm giving you these parameters in case you buy the same welder so you could, start successful. Also, I changed the polarity when I loaded the flux core. I'm right now welding on DC negative, or this torch is connected to the negative side and the work clamp connected to the positive side. With the flux core, from my experience, when you weld, you need to have the torch angled at about 15 degrees and you drag the weld, or you're going away from where you started. And as you see, it did deposit a good weld. You see the slide coming off. And it has a good heat profile, so it penetrated very good. I will hit it with a wire brush and I will show you the weld. I also forgot to mention, I set the gas on a flux core gasless right over here, because the type of wire I'm using, it doesn't require shielding gas. Now I'm going to try to stick weld with it. I'm going to use 6013 electrodes. You could run those on AC or DC. DC positive or DC negative. The machine is set to 90 amp. And this 1/8 inch electrode. While we're testing the stick weld, I'm going to try to cut steel with this welder. This way we'll stress test it. I'm going to try to cut this 1/4 inch thick steel. I'm going to use this as a guide. I will stay away from it about a 1/4 inch or so to give me straight cut. It's just 1/2 inch flat stock. I set the welder to 190. Or you know what, let us set it all the way up. 205. And I'm going to run 6011. These rod too, you could run them on AC, DC, plus or negative. They recommend to weld with it 70 to 120 amp. Sometimes you may have a beam or channel that you want to cut and it's hard to reach with the grinder and you don't have a torch. I drilled many times holes using the welder on arc weld. And as you see, if you need to, this machine is capable of cutting steel. Next, I'm going to hook the argon, the 100% argon, and the spool gun, and we'll try to spool gun aluminum with this machine. I have the machine connected to 100% argon cylinder and the regulator set to 25 CFH because I'm welding outside. The diameter, when you set it to aluminum, the diameter of the wire, it's only give you 35,000 or 45,000. That's because this machine is designed to weld aluminum using the torch that came with it. You have to change the liner. I'm not going to do that because I have a spool gun. And I show how to weld with the spool gun, weld aluminum in detail, and I have video about it. I will link at the end of this video for that video. If you are interested, please watch it. But for now, this really doesn't matter. I have it set to 35,000 and I set the weld mode to manual MIG and the shielding gas to aluminum, and the setting I'm using right now, it's 401 for the feed rate and 20 volt. I have this 1/8 inch aluminum. I clean the edge where I'm going to weld. I just hit it with the wire brush. If there is enough interest, I may buy another torch and change the liner, and we'll try to weld aluminum with this welder. I really like to use a spool gun for aluminum. It is more convenient and you have better success. This is very smooth and beautiful weld. As I demonstrated, this welder did great. It did good job, MIG weld, flux core, stick weld, cutting steel, and aluminum. I highly recommend, if you are planning to weld aluminum, to get you a spool gun. And if you want to weld a flux core and MIG, to get you a second torch and label it for flux core to prevent contamination. Otherwise, this welder really, I like it. I like YESWELDER product in general. I started buying their product about 4 years ago, and I have no problem with their product. They're always trying to come up with a new product and update their lines of welders. And like I said, they also sell welding masks, welding wires, and other accessories. Everything I tested here today, I will have a link in the description for Amazon. You could buy it from Amazon. My understanding, the MIG 205DS Pro, YESWELDER only sell it on Amazon. It's lightweight machine. You could do everything with it. You could do MIG, lift TIG, stick, aluminum. You could use the machine to weld aluminum. I may try this in the future. I may buy another torch and use this liner to try that. I have a TIG torch, but it's for a TIG welder. For this type of TIG weld, you need a torch with the valve, so you could turn on and off the gas when you want to weld. If you want to TIG weld, I highly recommend to just buy a TIG welder. YESWELDER, they have several TIG welder that does aluminum. It does square wave aluminum and self-start and all that, and foot pedal and everything. I hope I answer all your questions. This video is meant to help beginner, somebody who just started into welding, so they have successful start at welding. A lot of people, they buy a machine, they don't know how to use it, or they give up. So I provided all the settings to get you started correctly. Now you may have to adjust or fine-tune the setting I provided, because there's a lot of variables that affect the weld. The incoming voltage, the temperature, the type of welding material you are using, the metal you use, how much you did prep work, if you clean it, if there is rust, you know, the alloy of the metal. So there's a lot of factors. However, I did provide with everything to get you started correctly. If there is anything I didn't cover, or if you have any more question, please post it in the comment section. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you later. Take care.